Right now, as you read this, Google is still logging every search you've ever paused, and the Federal Trade Commission can't stop it. Not paused the way you think. You hit the toggle. You turned off search history. Google's own settings page told you it was gone. It wasn't. A separate switch buried 3 menus deeper called Web and App Activity kept recording anyway. Same searches, same timestamps, same persistent identifier tied to your account. The button you pressed was Theater. The real switch was somewhere else, and it's still running. Here's what the feature is supposed to do. Google search history exists so you can revisit what you looked up, clear it when you want privacy, and officially hand you control over your own data trail. That's the pitch. Turn it off and Google stops watching. It's framed as consent. It's framed as choice. Regulators pointed to that toggle for years as proof users were protected. Google's own help pages called it your activity, your control. That language mattered later because it became the exact claim investigators say was false. In 2018, the Associated Press ran tests. They disabled location history and search history on real devices, then tracked what Google servers received anyway. Location pings kept arriving. Search queries kept syncing. The mechanism was simple and almost elegant. Web and App Activity, a separate setting, defaulted to on, and it captured the same date of the paused toggle claim to stop. Google hadn't lied outright. It had built 2 switches, named one clearly, buried the other, and let users believe flipping the first one mattered. It didn't. And nobody at Google was required to tell you that. Arizona's Attorney General sued in 2020. The complaint alleged Google trained employees internally on how confusing the settings were, how to keep users opted in without making that obvious. A 40-state coalition followed, settling in November 2022 for $391.5 million, at the time the largest multi-state privacy settlement in U.S. history. Arizona itself won an additional $85 million in 2023. Google agreed to simplify the controls. Google agreed to more disclosure. Read that agreement closely, though, and you'll find no requirement to stop collecting by default. No requirement to make Web and App Activity opt-in instead of opt-out. The fine was historic. The mechanism survived untouched. And here's the part nobody reported. The FTC already knew. Internal Google communications produced during litigation showed employees flagging the confusing settings years before the AP investigation ever ran. The agency with actual authority to force a redesign, the one whose entire mandate is stopping deceptive data practices, had the paper trail. It didn't act until state attorneys general forced the issue through civil suits, not federal enforcement. The regulator built to protect you had already lost the fight before the public ever knew there was one. So how does it keep running after a $391 million penalty? Because the settlement targets disclosure, not architecture. Google restructured its language. It added a one-tap auto-delete feature in 2019, letting you wipe activity after 3 or 18 months, a fix that sounds like control, but only deletes what's already been logged. The collection point never moved. Web and App Activity remains on by default for new accounts today. Finding it still requires navigating past the simpler, more visible search history toggle first, the same sequencing the AP flagged in 2018. Nothing in any settlement bars Google from placing the real switch 3 clicks deeper than the fake one. That's not a bug in the design. That's the design. A confusing settings tree isn't illegal. Misleading marketing language is what got fined, and Google can rewrite marketing language forever without touching the tree. So think about that account you turned off years ago. Every search since then, recipe queries, medical symptoms, a name you typed into the bar at 2 a.m., has a timestamp sitting in a Google data center, tied to your identity, regardless of which toggle you believed you'd flipped. It feeds ad targeting. It feeds law enforcement requests, which Google receives by the tens of thousands annually and frequently complies with. It sits there because the button that was supposed to stop it was never actually connected to the thing doing the collecting. Google made $391 million disappear into a settlement line item, a company that made over $300 billion in revenue that same year. The setting that caused it is still live, still default on, still 3 menus deep. Nobody at the FTC has forced a redesign. Nobody has explained why the fix for a deceptive toggle was a different toggle, buried further away. So who decided how deep that setting should sit? And why, after 2 lawsuits and a 9-figure fine, is it still exactly where it was in 2018?